Hey everyone, today we're going to talk about developing your job hunting strategy. We're going to bring in some processes and mindsets from people like Will Smith and the Wolf of Wall Street. I'm a big believer before you get started, you need to do your research so that you understand what you're about to embark on. So what we've done is pulled together a couple of video clips and overlaid some facts and figures. So let's take a look at them.
You know who I'm envious of? People who work in a job that has to do with their college major. Journalists who study journalism, engineers who studied engineering. The truth is, these folks are no longer the rule, but the exception. A 2010 study found that only a quarter of college graduates work in a field that relates to their degree.
What gives degree holders their huge advantage? The answer lies in signaling theory, a theory which won the 2001 Nobel Prize for Economics. It states that while a degree itself isn't worth a lot, what it signals to others is. See, a good recruiter knows that degrees are hollow and don't really prepare graduates for the job. But with potentially hundreds of applicants, they need a quick way to separate a good employee from a bad one. They can't use IQ unless they want to get sued. So they use the next best thing, a degree.
So I'm sure many of you are thinking, cheers for that motivational montage, James. But if I told you we were going to for a run to the end of the block, and before we started I said, actually, let's do a 10K half marathon, a lot of you would be annoyed at me and would say in terms of, well, I'm not ready and I'm not trained for that. So now we know what we're about to embark on, we can develop a strategy to get going. So this video isn't going to be about writing your CV or your cover letter. What we're going to assume in terms of is that you've already done those to the best of your ability and you're honing those for each application that you're making. So where I want to start this process is by developing and setting your goals. So we just watched Jason's video and Jason's explained to us that the majority has fallen into the category of having done degrees that don't necessarily support jobs. But that's fine in terms of now we know, and we know we're not alone. So we need to develop our strategy to the next level. In my last video, I talked about the importance of why. And if you haven't seen it, go back and watch it. But just as a quick recap and align it to the topic today, what you want to do is align your job hunting search and the jobs you're looking for with what motivates you and that what your interests are and what your passions are. Because that way you'll stay focused on the task and you won't get disheartened by it. If you don't do that and you start scattergunning off in tons of different directions, you'll quickly get disheartened by the whole process, you'll lose focus, and the whole thing will become a mess and you're going to get overwhelmed by it. So to help me explain the importance of why you need to hone down on this idea, here's a video from the Wolf of Wall Street, Jordan Belfort, explaining the laws of attraction.
But back when we were in school, there was this experiment that we did in science class, and it had to do with magnetism. And the teacher would take out, like that old horseshoe-shaped magnet like this, right? It was a magnet like that, these little bars here, right? And that was your horseshoe-shaped magnet, right? And then you had on the other side of the equation, you had this pile of all these like iron filings, like iron, little pieces of iron, that iron filings go, right? And the teacher would say, watch, this is how magnetism works. And she would show you how the magnet's over here, and she'd kind of flip it around now, so the magnet was facing like this. There's my artistry in fucking full bloom. Okay, so now that's your side view. And she says, watch, nothing happens. And then she moves the magnet closer, maybe to over here, and guess what happens? Nothing. Still too far away. So she moves it closer still. What happens? Nothing. She moves it here, still nothing. But then she gets within a couple of inches of the iron, whoop, the fucking iron goes flying onto the magnet, and bam, just like that, you watch magnetism work in plain sight. This attraction of the iron filing to the magnet. But here's the thing. It doesn't work over great distances. It's not how it works. It works when you bring the magnet you get in the vicinity of the iron filings, whoop, like opposite poles attract, right? Same thing goes with the law of attraction. Let me explain how it works. What you want to do is visualize exactly what you want in life, the things that you want, your vision for the future, where you want to go, where you want to end up, what's important to you, family stuff, personal stuff, material stuff, spiritual stuff, everything. How is your life, how do you want it to look in 5 years from now, and why? Meaning your WHY. Why does it matter to you? And that why gives you the power to go overcome the barriers and obstacles that are going to pop up along the way, and also the distractions. Because let me fucking tell you something. You can't sit on your ass and attract things. just like the magnet in science class, if you want to then attract that stuff into your life, you have to move towards it. But here's what happens. By focusing on it, by making this clear mental image, focusing on attracting it, what it does, it alerts a certain part of your brain called the reticular activating system. It says, okay, you know what? These are the things that I'm supposed to focus on. See, your conscious mind does not have enough processing power to focus on the whole world. You get like 3% of it. The other 97% goes into your unconscious mind. It gets recorded unconsciously. We form patterns. Very helpful in sales, different story, okay? But what happens is your conscious mind, with this limited processing power and limited speed of processing, right? It can only take in a bit of information compared to what's out there. So your brain decides what's important and what's not. By creating this clear vision for the future, it tells your brain, whoa, this is what's important to me. I want you to go, and then you got to go and move towards the things that you want. So you have to get off your freaking couch, take massive action, and then learn the appropriate skills of entrepreneurship, of sales, of marketing, all the things you need to do separation, right? But you start moving towards the things that you want, and what happens is, because you have this clear image in your head, this crystal clear, visceral image, where like you feel it, you touch it, you taste it, right? You start recognizing, noticing all the opportunities that come up along the way, and you start taking advantage of them. And then when you get close to them, or close to people that might help you achieve them, guess what? Whoop! Magically, you seem to attract them.
You can see now why it's so important to hone your search, because if you don't, you've been putting yourself in too many different directions rather than having one clear path. So now you've got that direction, what you need to be doing now is creating a funnel. So to steal another business analogy, you've got something called a sales or a marketing funnel. And what that is that you look at your two sources in terms of that you've got your online sources and your offline sources. So your online sources are things like CV Library, Read, Indeed, and you've got other platforms such as LinkedIn and Glassdoor. And then another source is recruitment consultants. So a lot of jobs go through consultants that are actually specialists. So if now you've honed your job search criteria, see what specialists recruitment consultants are in that field and pull that list together. Now, the other big one in terms of that I want to spend a little bit more time talking about is your offline network. So your offline network is all the people that you know, but it could be friends of friends. It also could be friends of your parents. So what you need to be doing is getting things like your phone book, your Facebook friends, Instagram friends, and writing out a big list of everybody you know. Also in terms of having a chat with your mum and dad in terms of who their close friends are and what they do for a living. Now, what you need to be thinking about is that you might write this list out and think, do you know what? They're not of any benefit to me and that. But when you think like that, I just want to explain another theory, which is octopus theory. So octopus theory is another sales theory. You may go and chat to a client, and that client's actually not interested in your product, but they're overwhelmed and really like you. And then when they're chatting to their friends, they think, oh, do you know what? You should chat to blah, blah, and that because I thought they were really good. And all of a sudden, that client, in terms of that you thought was a dead duck, is now recommending you to all of their friends. So the octopus theory is essentially saying one person could create eight opportunities for you. What I want you to do is actually get that list together and make it a mission to meet someone at least once a week for a coffee to have a chat with them. Because you never know where that would lead. You never know when someone will say, do you know what, I know someone, you should go and have a chat with them. You don't need me to tell you how important the power of recommendation is. So now I've explained that, let's listen to Jordan explaining the marketing funnel.
That's the marketing. So you go out there on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on YouTube, Google AdWords, whatever, Google, whatever it might be, right? Your online marketing. There's your offline marketing as well. TV, which most of you probably don't use. There's telemarketing. There's door-to-door, knocking on people's doors. So what happens is that when you're out there marketing, you're searching the world, you're scouring the earth, trying to find your best buyers. Who is a potential match for your product, right? And you want to bring them into your sales funnel as cheaply, as economically as possible, and in large numbers. And your goal is to only bring in people who are qualified. Qualified buyers, meaning they need your product, want your product, can afford your product, and hopefully sometimes they're feeling some pain, meaning they want to buy it now. They're feeling some uncomfortability about your product. Those are the people that you're looking to bring into your pipeline. And that's what this whole thing is about. And yeah, it's crucial.
So at this point in the strategy, we've already written our CV and cover letter, and we're honing those to specific roles. We've honed our job search and what we're looking for. We've created our funnels. We know our offline and online sources. So now we need to actually get into the application process itself, and you fired them off. And we need to think about what is going to be our competitive advantage now that we've sent in these applications. So there's a bundle of tips you can give for creating competitive advantages. And everyone, please fire below in the comments below any tips that you've got to help everybody. But one tip I want to talk about and bring up today in terms of is going back to recruitment consultants. So if we go back to the original fact that people are only spending 6 seconds to go through your CV, well, every time you look at a job posting, the recruitment consultant's details are normally on there. At the very least, it's going to have their company name, and more than likely, it's going to have the name of the person that's dealing with that process. So my advice to you is to pick up the phone and try and build a rapport and relationship with them. Because if you think about it, at the minute, by just submitting the application you've done, it's very likely that someone's only spent 6 seconds looking at your application. But if you invest like 5, 10, 15 minutes of your time trying to build a relationship up with that recruitment consultant, all of a sudden you're moving from having someone only look at your application for 6 seconds to now they're probably going to look at your application again. But also in terms of that, you've now given yourself a huge advantage over everyone else in the application process, where you've now got, say, 10 minutes dedicated time to your application compared to everyone else's 6 seconds. And you've made yourself stand out. And it's such a simple thing to do. So when you go about doing this process, I don't think you need to have any type of agenda. I don't think you have to have a script or anything like that. I think you just want to pick up the phone and have a conversation and try and have a friendly chat with someone around the whole process. Ask them how their day is, all of that type of stuff. But also ask them for help in terms of that. Like, you should always look to someone's expertise, and they do this all the time. They go through this process all the time. So asking them for any advice in terms of what they think would help you in this application process, and that people love to help. So reach out to people and ask them. If you're nervous about picking the phone up as well, like another tip is to go and practice down the coffee shop. Try and start up a conversation with a barista. Practice makes perfect. They're all things that we've grown up knowing about. So these are just things in terms of the skills you've already got. You just now need to implement in a different way. So one thing to remember about the recruitment consultants is that whenever they're putting people forward, they're obviously making recommendations to the client. So just by having a friendly chat with them, that makes them feel comfortable in terms of that essentially you're not a crazy person. So if they put you forward in terms of they feel comfortable in terms of that you're going to come across well to their client and it's not going to look badly on them. And at the end of the day, the job hunting process at this point, the cold aspect of it in terms of putting your CV forward, your number one mission is to get to the interview. So that's what you need to brainstorm about. So to get you in the mood of brainstorming around this idea, here's a video of Tim Ferriss talking about what he did in his first job.
This was a question that I asked myself when I had my first job out of college. I was talking about suffering. My desk was in the fire exit. It was completely illegal. Slept under the desk, the whole 9 yards, and don't regret a minute of it. But I was a technical sales guy, outbound sales guy. So we had inside sales, outside sales. And my job was to close deals with CTOs and CEOs for multi-million-dollar data storage systems. At that point, storage area networks with fiber channel. And what I realized at one point was that all of the seasoned sales guys who were doing far better than I was doing were making phone calls between 9 and 5. Those were the office hours. And I said, well, I'm clearly not doing an effective job mimicking them. What if I did the opposite for 48 hours? It's a very recoverable experiment, right? If it doesn't work, then I can always go back to what I was doing. Doing the opposite meant making my calls between, let's just say, 6:30 and 8:30, and then 5:30 to 7:30. And it was just a hypothesis. Maybe I can get a hold of the people I need to get a hold of more effectively when the gatekeepers aren't there.
Right.
And that's exactly what happened.
Wow.
And I started booking more meetings and closing more deals than the majority of the guys in the company. And it was just from asking that question. What if I did the opposite for 48 hours? And you can apply that.
So Tim's video is brilliant at explaining how just thinking a little bit outside the box can give you a competitive advantage. And Jason, in his video as well, he explains how he goes about getting a job at Etsy by doing something completely sideways. So go and watch his video and all the other videos in this, and they're all in the links in the description below, as are any books that we bring up. So now you know that you shouldn't be leaving your applications at just a click send button. You need to follow up on them and create a competitive advantage. So last thing I want to sort of bring up myself is about batching. So batching is really simple. All it is about grouping tasks together to help you stay focused and to help prioritize your time and be more efficient with your time. What you want to do is that things like using job searching as an example, in terms of rather than making applications as you go, just do all the searching, save all the jobs down, don't make any applications during that process, and do that for 45 minutes to an hour. Think, right, I've searched today, that's as much as I can do, or as much as my mind can take, and that you've locked them all down, and then think, okay, I'm going to have a break, have a coffee, come back, and now I'm going to do some application processes, and then you do that for an hour. But what you're doing is you're actually refining your skills at each of those tasks, rather than, again, something we talked about earlier, scattergraphing off into loads of different directions and losing focus and getting overwhelmed in the process. So we've batched these different things down. You'll be far more efficient at it, and it will help keep your sanity. I think batching is particularly important, going back to the point I said about making phone calls earlier. So if you batch all these phone calls together, you'll naturally feel more confident and get better at the conversations as you go. The first one might be a little bit rocky for the first couple of minutes if you've got any nerves, but by the second one, you've got loads of confidence, you've got different topics that you can talk about. To wrap things up, I just want to focus more now on motivation. We now know in terms of that it's a huge steep hill that we've got to climb. So my final few points are: align your job search with what you're passionate about. Don't be afraid to fail. Put yourself out there and don't give up. So to see us out, here's a clip from The Rock and Will Smith talking about exactly those points. If you haven't done so already, please smash that like button, click the subscribe button, and we'll see you in the next one.
The key for me was, where does it start? What's the anchor? What's the anchor? So I could have all these ambitions, and you guys have all these ambitions, which is great. It's important. I'll play this role, you'll play that role. I'll execute this thing, and it'll come out this summer. You guys will execute this thing during the summer, right, when it's time to really put in a lot more work. But the key with me is just always finding what the anchor is. And the fucking anchor is getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning every day before anybody else and grounding my thought process is in the no one will outwork me. No one. I love and I respect you guys. You motherfuckers won't outwork me. Lesnar transitioned, and I realized if I had to be great at something, I wanted to be great in this world of Hollywood and movie making and producing and entertainment, I had to commit, and like you guys have to commit. Obviously, you commit to something, commit to the goal. So I quietly retired. 2 years later, I thought, what the fuck did I do with my career? Because my movies were not doing well. I was written off. I was like, it was around 2006, 2007. I was like, God damn. I left, I pulled a Jim Brown. I left when I was on top, like #1 in the wrestling business, and I left. It was a ballsy, gutsy, some call it stupid move, but I had to commit and I had to follow what was in my gut. And at that time, I'll share this with you guys, and Will Smith is my boy, and I sat down at that time with the agency I was with, and they said, what do you want to accomplish? I said, I want to accomplish the world. I want the world, and I want Will Smith's career, and I said, and I mean this respectfully because I know he's here at this agency with us, I want to do it bigger and better. And they looked at me like I had 3 fucking heads, and they were like, okay. But I still stayed focused, and I still had still put in the hard work with my 2 hands, and that's it. And that's what it comes down to with you guys. One of the keys is, remember where you came from, keep that shit in the front of your mind, and when shit goes bad and it goes sideways, a lot of shit does, you're getting booed out of the fucking building, or you're coming through this injury, or people are writing you off, oh, you guys ain't gonna fucking make it, any of that shit. You gotta keep it in here. And they say, 1, 2, and he pushes you on 2 because people grab on 3, right? Right? And you go, and you fall out of the airplane, and in 1 second, you realize that it's the most blissful experience of your life. You're flying, right? It doesn't feel like falling, right? It's like you actually are kind of held a little bit by the wind, and then you start falling, and there's zero fear. You realize that the point of maximum danger is the point of minimum fear. It's bliss. It's bliss, and you're flying, right? And you're doing that, and then 20 seconds, 25 seconds, 40 seconds, and you have enough time to just kind of be like, oh, shit, that's that building, I like that one. Oh, you can see the ocean. Right? You start doing all of that, and the lesson for me was, why were you scared in your bed the night before? What do you need that fear for? Just don't go. Why are you scared in your bed 16 hours before you jump? Why are you scared in the car? Why could you not enjoy breakfast? What did you need that? The fear is fear of what? You're nowhere even near the airplane. Everything up to the stepping out, there's actually no reason to be scared. It only just ruins your day. You don't have to jump. And then in that moment, all of a sudden, where you should be terrified is the most blissful experience of your life. And God placed the best things in life on the other side of terror. On the other side of your maximum fear are all of the best things in life. You know? So that was sorry. So that was,
no, it's good.
That was my experience with skydiving and fear.
All right.
All right.
So practically speaking.
But I didn't like that take. I'm going to do it again. Back to the top.
Hey everyone. Today, blah, 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 blah.
Please may clap 3 times. Yeah.
That was 2.
That was 2. What did impression?
Oh.
Little hook.
Oh no, you gotta watch the video and find out.